Hello and welcome in to Meg's Travel Agency. What can I do for you today? I see. So you are trying to plan your honeymoon. And do you have any general ideas of where you would want to go on your honeymoon? What time of year you would want to go? Because that could impact the place that you ultimately decide to proceed with your travels. Okay, so if you wanted like a January, February honeymoon, then I probably would hesitate to recommend a European destination, just considering that it is still winter. It is still going to be winter in Greece and the south of France. So as beautiful as it is there, that would be better suited for maybe like a May through September timeline. So if you are thinking about January, February, let's see, I would potentially consider something in the southern hemisphere. So there is Bali, Indonesia, right here. If you did that, you could, let's see, you could also potentially do the Maldives, which is not too far from Indonesia. Alternatively, another option would be Australia, or I don't know how you feel about New Zealand or Fiji or Tahiti, all of which are in the South Pacific Ocean, almost starting to border on the Southern Ocean, which is an ocean that we don't often hear much about. So so we would be right over here for Australia. New Zealand is right here, and Fiji is up here, and Tahiti is somewhere around there. We'll just call it Polynesia. Right there. So if you're traveling from the United States, it is going from here over to this area. What do you think? So what I can say is that New Zealand is a stunningly beautiful country with quite a lot of varying topography. Yes, so depending on what it is that you are looking for on this honeymoon, I can tell you that New Zealand most likely has it and more. So if you want to sit on a beach like this one, if you want to go fishing or diving or swimming, if you want to explore a big city, if you want to explore small villages, if you want to hike in beautiful big mountains, take a helicopter to a glacier, travel on the water in the fjords, New Zealand is going to be the place for you. in February, well, January, February, it is summer in New Zealand. Now, New Zealand actually has 2 islands. It's kind of hard to tell here, but there is a North Island and a South Island. As you can tell, it's really not that far from the Southern Pole. But it's also not that far from the equator. It's about the same distance as the south of the United States. So, at least for the North Island. So that's why, temperature-wise, in the summertime in New Zealand, you're probably looking at the North Island somewhere between 60s and 70s, and on the South Island, depending on where you are, could get as low as the 40s. Probably won't get any higher than in the 60s. Yeah, so that is the general kind of weather that you would be looking at if you decided to plan a vacation, not just a vacation, but a honeymoon to New Zealand in January, February time of year. Does that sound like something that you would be interested in? Okay, excellent. So, why don't I go ahead and just take down some of your general contact information, and then we'll go ahead and get started with some of the booking. So, name, address, so you are local to this area then. Excellent. I have not made my way over into that neighborhood yet, but from what I have heard from friends that live near there, it's a very, very beautiful area of town. Okay, so then we are thinking New Zealand, number of days. Do you know how long that you would want to be gone for? So also think about the travel time. So from here to New Zealand, you are looking at nearly a full day of travel. Yeah. So I think, and don't quote me on this, but I believe it is it's 18-hour time difference. New Zealand is 18 hours ahead. Yes, of the East Coast. So a pretty significant time difference. What's also interesting is that the flight there is quite a bit longer than the return flight back, just because of the winds. And so yeah, it actually is kind of significant, and honestly I would rather have the longer flight on the way over there, because the way back, it's a little bit sad. You're coming home from your honeymoon, probably going back to work. So I would rather have the shorter flight on the return. Okay, so 3 weeks is a good amount of time to do that travel to New Zealand, because you're making the long flight over there. You might as well make the most of your time while you're there. So I think that is a very healthy amount of time to be there and get to be able to experience a lot of what those 2 islands have to offer. Now, since we are speaking of New Zealand and the fact that there are those 2 islands, so the North Island being closer to the equator, you know, it definitely has more water activities, boating, diving, island hopping, fishing. Those sorts of activities are going to be prevalent in the North Island of New Zealand. So if you are envisioning your honeymoon, you know, sitting on a beach with a margarita in your hand, then you will definitely want to visit the North Island. The South Island, on the other hand, actually looks literally like this. This is the South Island of New Zealand, right back there. So the South Island boasts beautiful mountain ranges. I believe at least one of them is called the Alps, but it looks, I mean, very just stunningly vast and beautiful. So yes, snow-covered mountains and glaciers and gorgeous hiking and landscapes are what you will find in the South Island of New Zealand. So I have to ask you, do you want to see both islands, or do you want to spend your full 3 weeks just fully, you know, embracing and getting to know just one of those islands? So, I mean, I would recommend, just because you are coming from so far, and this is kind of a one-in-a-lifetime trip. I mean, it's your honeymoon. So there is a chance, right, that you may not ever return there. So I would probably suggest just spending, I would definitely spend some time on both islands. And there's a couple of big cities in New Zealand. So on the North Island, it's going to be Auckland, which is probably where you're going to want to book your flights in and out of, coming from the States. And then on this, there's also Wellington on the North Island. Wellington is the capital of New Zealand, and it is kind of the southernmost point of the North Island. And then in the South Island, your main metropolitan areas are going to be Queenstown and Christchurch. Queenstown is a must visit. I highly suggest going to Queenstown, because it is also very close to some of the most beautiful natural wonders that New Zealand is home to. Yeah, so I would highly suggest definitely taking a gander down to Queenstown. But, you know, with it being a honeymoon and all, I definitely think it would be incredible to be spending some time in your bathing suits, boating, swimming, running around some of the little gorgeous coastal towns of, you know, the North Island of New Zealand. And there are some gorgeous, gorgeous places that you can visit and get a lot out of. Okay, so now if you don't mind, I do need your credit card information, just because I am going to be making some bookings on your behalf. So if you would prefer, we can wait until the end of the session, but just letting you know up front that I will need that information so that I can go ahead and make some bookings on your behalf. Now let's talk about budget also, because that's very important as we're going into this, so that I know kind of what to look for. Okay, that's amazing. Well, congratulations. That's a big deal. Yeah. So, yes, I know with all of the wedding planning that weddings are so very expensive, but if you got an awesome bonus this year that you're excited to use towards this trip, then that's going to definitely open up a lot of options as far as places to stay, different excursions. I can say that if you are interested in fishing or diving, that there's definitely different charters and excursions to do that in the North Island. If you are adventurous at all or an adrenaline junkie, Queenstown is the adventure capital of the world, or so they say. So there is bungee jumping there. What do they call them? Canyon swings. There's jet boating. You can take, there's many different types of snow activities as well. Although, if you're going in the summer, I don't know what the, skiing and snowboarding situation is. It's probably not very prevalent in the summertime, I would imagine. But I can definitely look into that. There are some really beautiful sights to see. So if you're interested in going to Queenstown, but you want to save some time, for example, if you want to see Milford Sound, which is one of the beautiful fjords of the southern island, I would maybe recommend booking a small flight. I think it's like under an hour flight to get from Queenstown to Milford Sound. If you drove, it would be running about 4 hours, so it would be kind of hard to make a day trip out of that, but we can discuss your itinerary a little bit more, because if you would rather drive, right, there's also the benefit of just seeing more of the country, and we can make, a full multiple day trip out of it instead of it being just a day trip to Milford Sound. I believe there is also another sound over there that is a similar fjord, so there's a lot to do, a lot to take in. Let's see, what other information do I need here from you to start putting together an itinerary? I guess if you could just, give me an idea of what are your overall goals for this honeymoon, you and your partner. What are, your, I guess, tolerances for adventure? Are you similar? Are you a little bit different? Give me a little bit of an idea there. Okay. Now, I also have to warn you that if you're going to be there for 3 weeks, now you can book, different types of charter buses and travel around the island, but I would probably strongly suggest renting a car so that you can kind of go around at your own pace. That's probably what I would do, but I have to warn you that they drive on the opposite side of the road there, so that would be, out of you and your partner, would one of you be, or both of you, be comfortable? Okay, good to know, because, yeah, I don't know if I would be comfortable driving on the other side of the road in a foreign country, but my husband would be fine, so okay, good to know, good to know. Okay, just a couple more things for me to set up your contact card in our software here. So it'll just be in one more moment. Do you have specific dates in mind that you want us to start looking at, or we can start kind of, I can start building out a general itinerary and we can work on specifics once you've nailed down actual dates, if that works better. Okay. Well, I think that we have enough to get started. So I have a team kind of research, an ideal itinerary, splitting time between the North Island and the South Island pretty evenly. I can also put together an itinerary for you that spends a little bit more time in the North Island, if you are craving a little bit more of that sunshine and tropical experience on your honeymoon. So we can kind of put together a couple of different options, and then let's set up a time to meet again, go over everything, while you guys figure out the exact dates that you want, so that the next time we talk, we can work on booking hotels and excursions together and flights between the islands. Sound good? Okay, perfect. Well, it was very nice to meet you, and I look forward to talking